Hello, my name is Dr. Mark Burdorf. I'm a board-certified chiropractic neurologist in Scottsdale, Arizona. And today's little talk is going to be 3 things you can do to destroy your balance receptors and 3 things you can do to rehabilitate them. So, your balance is controlled by 3 different parts of your brain. One is called your visual system, the second is your vestibular system, and the last is your cerebellum, which is your somatosensory systems. So let's talk about vision first. What can you do to make your eyes worse? Well, one thing is wear sunglasses. And more importantly, when you're doing certain household and yard activities, wear protective goggles. Because what can happen is you can accidentally spill a acid solution in your eyes, and it's just going to burn, and usually if you flush them out with water you're pretty good. But if you actually get alkaline solutions such as toilet chalk dust and oven stuff, anything you spray in that can be much more detrimental to destroy your vision. A lot of people's balance gets altered by cataracts as we age, and one of the things that can affect cataract acceleration is being diabetic. So people that don't get blood work, they don't know if they're diabetic or they're pre-diabetic for years, and these are all things that promote their chances of getting a cataract, okay? So another thing I see clinically is people a lot of times wear one contact for distance, and then they never go back to see their doctor and get it corrected. So what ends up happening is by having one contact for distance and one for near, they start developing torsional stress on their neck, okay, and that can affect your balance. And the same difference if you spend a lot of time in front of a computer. If you have bifocals or trifocals, you start doing this stuff, and once again, you're creating angulation stress on your neck, and that's going to affect your balance as well. So, what's the rehab for it? Well, as I said a little bit earlier, wear sunglasses, okay? Make sure you're wearing goggles. And there's some important vitamins you can take, and vitamin A is one of them, lutein is another one, omega-3s are important, vitamin C, pretty much all your B complex. And if you're seeing a doctor, do a yearly exam with you, because a lot of times people try to just guess themselves or buying their own glasses and playing around with contacts, and that's really a recipe for disaster. So go see a trained professional, see an optometrist if you need corrective eyewear. All right, the next pathway we're going to talk about is your vestibular system. And your vestibular system, just like our little model of our spine here, is you have the horizontal, the anterior, and the posterior canals. And what can happen is you can damage your hearing with going to too many concerts, always having ear pods in, working in a work environment with a lot of loud noise, and unfortunately if you've served in the military, these are all things that damage your vestibular system. And a lot of times what happens, and especially even through the COVID thing, it's much worse, but even before that, is people when they travel, they can get a vestibular neuritis, which is either a viral, sometimes bacterial, and that also damages the vestibular system. So, what can we do to rehab the vestibular system? Well, sometimes everybody does have crystals. They're called odorless rocks, crystals. Everybody's got these. They're floating around in your horizontal, your anterior, and posterior canal. And typically about 90% of the time, those crystals will coagulate in the posterior canal, and it gives your brain a sensory error message. And you think that you're sitting up straight, but your brain thinks you're at a 45-degree angle. So Dr. Epley was the guy that figured out that what we do is we take somebody, and this would be the back of their skull, we lay them back quickly and rotate their head, and if that repositions or recreates something called nystagmus, where your eyes are fluttering, then what we do is we do the Epley maneuver where we keep in this position, then we turn them to this position, and then we rotate those crystals out. And that's something I can typically fix in somebody in a visit or two. Okay. Other things we can do is vestibular-based therapies, and that's a big part of my practice, where we have people stand on a balance pad or some sort of a perturbed foam surface and then replicate eye head movements to strengthen the vestibular system. And once again, a lot of vitamins you can take to improve that, and it's been shown that vitamin D if you actually are deficient in it, increases vestibular problems. Another thing that's really good to take is CoQ10, glutathione, and again, all the B vitamins. So the last system we're going to talk about is the cerebellum. And the cerebellum is basically related to joints and muscles of your spine and your body. And I'm going to talk about subluxations for a moment because I was a chiropractor first before I started doing the neuro. And here's your scenario, is if a joint is fixated, that can cause a joint position error to the brain. If a joint is sprained from a whiplash, that can also cause a joint position error sprain. So that's where chiropractic may or may not be indicated, and for some people you should never get your neck adjusted, and for other people it's the only thing that's going to fix them. Now, something that's really important in the cerebellum is there's something called Purkinje fibers, and they're very sensitive to vitamin E. So a lot of times people that have vitamin E deficiencies can also have increased chances of balance disorders. Another thing that's important for brain function in general is omega-3s. So the important thing is, in neurology and really neurological rehab, is we find the pathway that works to rehab the broken one. So if, let's say, you've had a visual injury, then we're going to use vestibular or cerebellar therapies. And likewise, if you have a cerebellar injury, we may be doing vestibular or visual therapies. So if you find what I'm saying interesting and you have these type of symptoms yourself or a loved one does, give us a call. My office number is 480-951-5006. You can learn more about me at drburdorf.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Mark Burdorf. You have a great day.